Welcome to a very special bonus episode of Disney Plus Reviews. Technically, Jack, this is not a movie that's on Disney Plus, at least not right now.
It will be.
It will be one day.
It was made by Disney.
This is our spoiler episode of Star Wars Episode 9. If you have not seen The Rise of Skywalker, please go away, watch that movie, and come back and listen to this once you've seen it.
And come back.
We are going to spoil everything.
Spoilers.
About this movie. So,
Spoiler.
Yeah, definitely spoiler warning.
Spoiler.
You have been warned. We are going to jump into our thoughts and review of the movie. Before we get into the nitty-gritty details of the movie, here's what I want to know from you, Jack.
Sure.
How much did you enjoy this movie, and where does it rank for you amongst the Star Wars movies?
Let me tell you, I made a list. Of the Star Wars movies.
Wow,
Grant Youngsma, friend of the show, friend of ours in general, asked me about this movie, and I made a list. And I will tell you, and I'm going to let you then make your decision of how you think, what you think I think of this movie.
Okay.
Here is my list.
I mean, I kind of know what you think of the other movies, so I'm going to have a pretty good idea.
Exactamundo. Let me see my list here. I scrolled past it. All right, here's my list. Top, this is from best to worst.
Okay.
Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
A New Hope. Number 2.
Okay.
Number 3, Return of the Jedi. Number 4, Revenge of the Sith. Number 5.
Hold on for a second. I didn't know you thought that highly of Revenge of the Sith. You really like that movie.
I finally got to see Darth Vader.
Yeah.
I finally got to see Darth Vader. What a payoff.
True. Yeah.
You knew that would at least be a good movie because you got to see Darth Vader. I liked Samuel L. Jackson in that role.
Yeah.
He was perfect for that role. I like Palpatine. I'm okay with Palpatine.
Right.
So remember that when I'm talking here today.
Yeah.
I love Palpatine. Snoke, in general, I was like, what?
Yeah, I
want Palpatine.
Let it be said, I also love Revenge of the Sith. I didn't think that you liked any of the prequel movies as much as that.
No.
Anyway, okay, continue.
So here, let me recap: Empire Strikes Back, New Hope, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker, Attack of the Clones, Phantom Menace, The Last Jedi.
Wow. Okay.
Phantom Menace has Darth Maul in it. Phantom Menace.
Wow, you like Phantom Menace more than The Last Jedi.
Yeah, Last Jedi sucks.
Whoa.
I cannot.
Shots fired.
I cannot tell you enough, folks. I'm sorry. I will not. I refuse to pander and have you tell me I go to a Star Wars movie like I go to eat. Let's say I go to a pizza restaurant that I want to go eat pizza at. I don't want you to come out and be like, well, listen, this is a pizza restaurant, but here, why don't you try this new veggie pita we made? Why would I want that when I came here to eat this pizza? And that's going to be the overarching theme when I talk about Rise of Skywalker. Go. Your turn.
Okay.
Tell me your list. Do you have your list?
And I haven't thought it through. So I'll just basically answer the question quickly by saying my list is almost exactly the same as your list. I liked The Last Jedi a lot better than you did.
A lot of people do.
Yeah,
I'm not. If you like it, that's great. I'm not going to rip on you for liking it.
Yeah,
I understand why people like it, but as a Star Wars movie, I don't know why you have to feel like they had to feel like Rian Johnson. I hate he gets a lot of blame. Who cares? I would love to have had that job to do that movie.
Right.
Great. All I'm saying is, why do you have to? He's made the comment of, well, it's okay to challenge your fans. Yeah, sure it is. If we're talking about high art, we're talking about Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's a formula that has been in place since 1977. It's Coca-Cola. When they made New Coke, how long did that last? Not very long, and they brought Coca-Cola back.
Yeah.
And so then J.J. Abrams is left trying to pick up the pieces, and trust me, Rise of Skywalker is a very flawed movie. Very flawed movie. But it's Golden Corral, where they're trying to find... It's a smorgasbord.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll go into that. I'm sorry. I don't want to dominate
I think I'm following you through all the analogies there.
I get it. Like, I understand why people like Last Jedi. It's different. It's a different movie. I just didn't need that different movie.
Yeah. So Aaron Dicer, who's also on the same Studio DNA network, I'm pretty sure he has Last Jedi as number one. I think that's his favorite.
I understand why.
Andrew Ormsby has The Last Jedi as his dead last. So
I hate it.
Yeah. So then there's everybody in between.
And I've known both those guys for a while.
Yeah.
And I've always known this for a fact, that Andrew and I are a lot closer on things than Aaron and I are.
Yeah.
Like, we're more polar opposite on a lot of things.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like I get it that Andrew and I are a lot closer on those movie type things, and a lot of it's just I'm not that refined. So like when it comes to my tastes in movies and things like that, and there are certain things I like that I think people would be like surprised that I like.
Yeah.
But man, like when it comes to this, I'm not I can't. I'm gonna say it again. I go to an NFL game. I'm not looking for you to play polo at that NFL game. I want to watch the NFL. So don't change up the rules or what why?
Yeah.
It was weird to me. Like that Last Jedi, I was like, dude, why?
Yeah.
And don't give me that Rian Johnson is some sort of a refined person. He made Looper. His biggest movie is Looper. Have you ever seen Looper?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's a not very good movie. Anyway, I don't know why they let him be a director. Anyway, go ahead, continue. Sorry, you're gonna get a lot of this.
I think
by
for
the way.
me, The Last Jedi is somewhere in the middle. I don't love it as one of the best. I don't think it's anywhere close to the best Star Wars movie. But there are other Star Wars movies that I like less than The Last Jedi for sure. I actually just watched The Last Jedi. I watched it within the last 7 days. So my thoughts on it are still pretty recent on it. I will say that I liked it less the second viewing. The problems that I had with it were more pronounced in the second time. But I think I want to say this so everyone understands kind of where I'm coming from with this new cast. And this may surprise you, Jack. I don't know. But Rey is my favorite Star Wars character of all time.
I love her.
Yeah.
And I want you to know that too.
Yeah.
When Force Awakens came out, I was like, this is great. This is perfect.
Yeah.
This is perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. You know what I'm saying? Like Force Awakens, obviously you heard my list. It's not is it my top 5? It's number 5, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not even, in my eyes, even better than Revenge of the Sith. So,
and for those of you who are listening to us that maybe aren't familiar with me and Jack's history and stuff like that, we grew up with the original trilogy. Like, we're both old enough that we watched those movies over and over again. We were both in our college years by the time even the first prequel movie came out.
Yeah,
so,
you
would think that for us, like the pinnacle of like the characters in the show would be like Han Solo or Luke Skywalker, and granted, those are two of my favorite guys as well. But for me, Rey is my favorite character.
I love her. And I said this again. If you want to hear me rant about Last Jedi, go over to the Horror Movie Podcast. We covered the Last Jedi like technically two separate times.
Yeah.
And my rant is not the typical, the mansplaining. It's the blah, blah, blah that people rant on. It's just the story is kind of crap.
Yeah.
And not only that, like John Boyega's character, I mean, you talk about, a character that could have been even better. And then J.J. Abrams, he can't even in the end pay him off like I feel like he should have.
Yeah. He
started off down this path that, like, there was a point after Force Awakens when we all kind of thought, he may be a Jedi.
Right.
There's a shot.
Right.
Poe Dameron's character was kind of Han Solo-esque, but you don't know as much about him, right? Mm-hmm. Rey's character is very strong. She's kind of like, we talked earlier about Baby Yoda, like on the previous episode of this show, and how he just intuitively has this ability.
Yeah.
Well, now, Rey is in Force Awakens. Rey just...
She's unbelievably powerful.
How does she have this power?
Yeah, I'm kind of rehashing a couple things I heard on Sif Pop earlier today, but they were talking about how, like, it's not a hard. By the way, Andrew hated Rise of Skywalker, hated it. But anyway,
it's too much. I admit this movie. Hey, Rise of Skywalker is too much.
Yeah,
but I know why it's too much.
Yeah,
I get why it's too much.
We need to get to Rise of Skywalker here in a second.
Sorry, my Jack rants.
No, that's fine. I'm glad we talked about the Last Jedi just because it feeds right into this movie. But one of the things that Aaron was talking about as far as this is about the Rise of Skywalker. Rey is so powerful in the Rise of Skywalker, which bothered Andrew because he was like, "Hey, she's had like 0 to no training. I think Leia basically has been her Jedi master,
right?
And she can do all these things that no other Jedi can ever do." And he just couldn't buy into that. Aaron's thought was, hey, maybe she's just like Yoda. Like she literally has the ability to be so like the Force is so strong with this one with Rey to use Star Wars lingo. That she doesn't need a lot of training. Like she could just do stuff, and no one has to teach her how to do it. She can just do it. She just knows how to do it. Yeah. I mean, someone had to be the first Jedi, right? Like in the history of Jedi.
Well, I mean, technically,
At any rate, so I don't have a problem with that stuff. Like when I see Rey doing things that no one has ever done, I get excited. Like there are two ways to take that. There's to be offended by like, hey, she hasn't been trained, and then the other way to take it is just like, hey, that's so cool that she can do it. Some of them
are more trained, and it's like in life, folks. Like, hey, some professional athlete, let's use them as an example. Or it could be a chef, or it could be, I mean, you pick somebody. Someone who's really good at using technology or fixing technology, that sort of thing. Some people are naturally more adept than other people. Yeah. That's not to say that person B can't work harder and become really good at it.
Right.
Rey, in the first movie, is able to lightsaber duel and beat Kylo Ren, and he has trained his entire life. He's been trained by Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
He is blood relatives to Luke Skywalker. And then he was trained by Snoke, who, spoiler alert, in this movie was actually Palpatine training him through that. You don't really get two better teachers other than if Yoda had pitched in and Obi-Wan was there. And does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, let's not forget Anakin. I mean, like in the Phantom Menace, it's not our favorite movie, but he's what, like 9 or 10 years old in that movie,
and that's pod racing.
That's pod racing, and he's too young for the Jedi Academy. Like no, he's not old enough. Like he can't go in there and start his training. It was like, but he's ready. Like he's light years ahead of any of these other kids. So let him train.
Right.
And so there's precedence for some people just being very adept with the Force without any training.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any problem with that at all. But that is one thing I've heard some people have some beef with. But let's get into the Rise of Skywalker. So regardless of how you feel about The Last Jedi, there was an immense goal, I felt like, for J.J. Abrams to cram as much as he possibly could into a 2 hour and 20 minute movie to finish this thing off.
And I feel like that in itself, what you just said, is what doomed this movie.
Yeah.
To have to be a reactionary tale of The Last Jedi. And here's the thing about Last Jedi. I've seen it 4 times. Okay? It set this whole thing on a different path than what JJ, and that's obvious now. Like, I'm sorry, that is way obvious now.
Well, let's pause for a second and just say that the way that they structured this thing with 3 different directors, it was originally 3 different.
Why?
Like, even J.J. Abrams was not supposed to direct the third movie.
But why did they do that?
Yeah, it is the most asinine thing I've seen in a long time.
What did they think? People complain about. Here's what I'm going to tell you, folks.
I feel bad for the cast.
This is how Jack's brain works, and I like it or not. This is how Jack's brain works. George Lucas is a genius. George Lucas. Yeah. Love it, hate it, whatever. He was the person that dictated how things worked.
Oh, yeah.
And whether you like it or not.
The buck stopped with him.
We talked earlier today on another podcast about professional wrestling. Okay? Vince McMahon, love him, hate him, whatever. The buck stops with Vince McMahon. Walmart, okay? All the way up into the 90s. When in the heyday of Walmart, where there is no competition, there is only Walmart. But long before there was Amazon, Sam Walton makes the decisions. Okay, so Bill Gates at Microsoft, I could go on, blah blah. When you start to fracture that off and say, okay, look, we're going to let you do this and you do this and you, and that right there, I think is what. I think in theory, they're like, it's Star Wars. No one can screw this up.
So the one person that kind of holds that title at Disney is Kathleen Kennedy, right? She's kind of the person that presides over Star Wars, but she's not
creative mind about Star Wars.
And she's also not micromanaging it like a Kevin Feige would.
And that's where they missed out. Feige. I've heard many people online say that Kevin Feige is Marvel, heads up Marvel.
He's the mastermind of
He is the mastermind.
all of the stories. And Kathleen Kennedy it sounds like, is never going to be that for Star Wars.
My question to you is, if we could go back in time and get Jon Favreau to do
that'd be awesome.
this trilogy.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And then turn J.J. Abrams, or even say J.J. Abrams, you're in charge.
Yeah. I would make either one of those kind of the Kevin Feige of Star Wars. Just kind of preside over everything, every decision. Like, everything needs to go through me before it gets stamped and approved.
But even Star Trek made J.J. Abrams the person for Star Trek for the first two, and then he got, he looked across the room, and there's this very attractive Star Wars that he wanted to go talk to, and he sauntered over there and talked to her.
Yeah.
And then they bring in Simon Pegg that did the third one. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
Simon Pegg, great, whatever. But whatever. So long story short, I think the lesson here is one person running it is the best way to do it. To have too many people, too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
No thanks.
So let me kind of
Sorry, my rant's
That's
over
right.
now.
Let me punctuate what I was saying a second ago with a quick anecdote. So I was looking on some website, and it was a spoiler page where they were kind of going over some moments they loved, some moments they hated, and they're like, "Oh yeah, in this one scene, blah blah blah, whatever." And it had only been like 24 hours had transpired since I'd seen the movie, and I was like, I forgot that happened in the movie. Like, that's how much stuff happens in this movie from front to back.
Yes.
Like, that there was a scene that they were talking about, and I was just like, oh my gosh! Like, it was what it was. It was the scene where they go through the quicksand in underground, whatever.
Yeah.
And they encounter that snake-like creature, whatever. It's like, I forgot that even happened.
She speaks parcel tongue,
Parcel.
and she heals it,
Yeah.
which is biblical. It's King David.
Yeah. But like that scene is a really cool scene, and I really liked it, but it got lost in everything else. Like, there's so much happens that in that 2 hours, they only had 140 minutes to tell this whole thing, and it is an amazing amount of information that gets thrown at you, and that's really like my main negative with the movie. I have a ton of positive things. I actually, we haven't really kind of talked how much we like the movie. Overall, it's a win for me. I would give it like a B plus. Like, I really liked it. There's enough issues that I have with it that I can't quite give it that A plus rating, but like, it's the biggest negative that I have, and I think I would honestly grade it even higher if there was just less things that happened in the movie. It just felt so scattershot. Like, there were so many things so many like loose ends that had to be tied up, and like, we have to finish this guy's story and this guy's story. It's like, you guys started way too many threads, and now you have to finish all those threads before this timeline. Like,
he's chasing some rabbits there sometimes, and because he feels like he has to.
Yeah, and I was talking to Jessica, and she's like, "Well, how's this compared to like Endgame?" I was like, first of all, Endgame had 3 hours to tie up every loose end. But even
and it even technically, it was 2 movies.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I said is like, there was less story to wrap up in Endgame. Like it was a lot more focused, and they still had 3 hours to tell that focused ending. Yeah. So that said, I think some of the set pieces in this movie, I think, are some of the greatest in the whole series, all Star Wars movies. Rey, I loved her going into this movie before the crawl even started. I loved her. By the end of this movie, it solidified for me. I was like, she is one of the greatest characters, not just in Star Wars, but in film. Like, I absolutely love her character. She literally cannot do any wrong, right. and there's almost nothing like with Luke Skywalker or even Han Solo to a certain extent. Like, I like 90% of what that character is, but then you look at Luke Skywalker and like his whiny moments of New Hope, and you're just like, God, I really hate that guy. Like, but when I look at Rey, I see almost nothing. Everything that she does, everything that she says makes perfect sense to me, and it fits with her character. And this movie was the climax, the pinnacle of her character, and I was so worried that they would screw it up. And I thought J.J. Abrams did a perfect job with her. Like, it was so good.
Did you feel like, okay, so where are we really at here? Or do we want to go beat by beat? Can I tell you this right now about this movie? We would be here
for an hour and a half if we went beat by beat.
I don't even know if we can do it and then that amount, Phil. Because like you and I have talked about movies beat for beat, like hundreds of movies.
Yeah.
But this one is like one that you're like, I don't even know where to begin.
It'll take a couple
Let
hours
me
to
give
go
you some
through
highlights.
I want to hit like some of our favorite scenes, some of the things that we felt was well wrapped up, and then I mean, if you have negative things too, like I
have lots.
I hated this character.
Like I have lots. Well, no, I have lots of negatives, and it's not really a character.
Yeah.
I think that there's some weird stuff that goes on, like the space jump. What's he calling this?
Oh yeah,
the space jump part.
Skipping, right?
Yes, warp skip. What's he calling it? Light skipping?
Yeah.
That sounds stupid. That can't be called that. What does he call it?
I don't remember.
Someone's yelling at their in their earbuds right now. Anyway, okay.
So what do you think of that?
Okay, here's what I'll say about that. I don't think it should work, but if he's doing it, how in the Lord's name...
Light speed skipping.
Light speed skipping. How in the Lord's name are the TIE fighters doing it too?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that too.
There was a point where he kept skipping to different places.
Right.
And then he would skip, and there in the background, gliding behind him, was the TIE fighters. And it looked like... have you ever seen Wayne's World? And like when Wayne is... They're like, well, here we are. Like he's like, let's go on a trip. We're going to Texas. Ride 'em rope and cowboy. And there's a new background. Yeah. And they're like, oh, now we're going to Delaware. We're in Delaware. It was like that. Like where they're like... different scenery, and in the background, the TIE fighters are still with them. How are those guys doing it?
Yeah,
how did they figure it out? Like in the original movie, or not in the original movie, in Last Jedi, they had the main ship. They couldn't outrun. They couldn't light speed jump away from the Star Destroyer because it had a tracking beacon on them. They were trying to get the tracking beacon turned off. Mm-hmm. Good for, that's why. So we are left then to believe, in order for those TIE fighters, now we've got tracking beacons on the Millennium Falcon, and they're able to track in that small of a ship. Like it's too many.
That was one of the worst sequences in the movie.
It was weird. It gave credence to Poe Dameron being a great pilot.
And it was fun to watch, and I loved Rey's reaction. She's like, "What, you light speed skipped with the Falcon? The Falcon can't do that."
Yeah,
and he's like, "I just did it," and so that was kind of a cool little interaction.
Yeah,
but then when you really stop, and here's the problem with the movie is like it doesn't really give you time to stop and think about anything that's happening.
Oh, I know.
Like it's just a constant roller coaster ride, just hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, Amanda and I have been unwrapping this movie now for the last 3 days or whatever we saw.
And that's why I think almost. I don't want to say this for everybody across the board, but I feel like almost all people that see this movie are going to like it the best when they are leaving the theater. And then when they really stop and kind of sit with the movie for a couple days, they'll come back and I think their thoughts will have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Like if you just watched the movie an hour ago and you're listening to this, come back in a couple days and see what you still think about it. Because I was way higher on the movie when I first left the theater, and I'm still really high on it. There's just like some things I've been thinking about since watching the movie. I'm just like, that was kind of dumb, or they didn't fully explain that.
Oh, and they just jumping around, and like the added characters were like, who's this?
Yeah,
what is this? What's happening?
I love.
Where are we?
Here's what I think about the new. Let's go to new characters. What I like about Star Wars is that they can introduce a new character that
scroll down to that cast there, and we'll look through that list of people.
Introduces a new dynamic, a new kind of feel for what you're watching. It introduces some variable into a scenery that would normally be kind of paint by numbers. The problem with this movie with new characters is that I loved the new characters, but we spent so little time with them, and I'm afraid we'll never see them again. And so
and there were several in this too. Now you got to see Lando Calrissian's not a new character, but you got to see him come back.
So Carrie Russell was Zori Bliss,
right?
Who's she kind of felt like a bounty hunter.
She's a supposed love interest.
Yeah,
but she's like a smuggler person, love interest of Poe, a pilot. She has a cool
I loved her
suit.
Yeah, I loved it.
It looked very much like a Fortnite character. That's what Miller and I were talking about. It looks like very much like a Fortnite character. Jana, the Jana Aki character, or Naomi Aki Jana, is the love interest that we've now been forced Finn into. Which
she was the weirdest new character.
What happened to Rose Tycho or Tico. How do you pronounce her name?
Dude, I felt so bad for her as an actress.
That character.
Yeah.
And just
sideline.
Oh, turned it into like, I don't know what it was. Like, I don't know. Like the equivalent of like a background character.
They had a couple kind of quick winks and nods between Finn and her, and that was about it. And I felt so bad for Rose. Kelly Marie Tran, like I know you didn't care for The Last Jedi.
I didn't. Not her. I love her. No.
Her acting was so good.
Not her. Jedi. I didn't. Her story that they threw her into.
Yeah.
When they're chasing off to the casino planet,
right,
to lecture me on war and social issues in a galaxy long ago, far away, that somehow correlate with our current one.
Right.
What? You know what I'm saying? It's not her. It's just why?
I felt bad.
But I liked her that she was strong in that role. I liked her and Finn together. It's okay to put her and Finn together and have her in this role.
Yeah.
Instead of adding this new person.
I feel like Jana could have easily been replaced with just Rose.
Why didn't they? I don't understand it.
Yeah, it was really weird to me. That had to have been a J.J. Abrams thing. I almost wonder if it was originally written for Rose and then it got rewritten for Jana. Kind of a weird thing. I felt like that was needless information. Like it was new information that they wanted to introduce that just clouded, like just threw even more plot into an already thick movie.
She was a group of former stormtroopers that also lost their programming, and just so happened she's
basically a female Finn
to live on the moon of Endor.
Yeah.
Where they could help them. You get this skiff across the Great Sea to the old Death Star. Very convenient that they were there. Very convenient that she was a former stormtrooper. Very convenient that she and Finn now are in love.
Yeah. Happened very fast.
Like too fast.
I liked the new Allegiant General Pride. He's kind of the guy that essentially takes over for Hux.
He does. Now, he's out of nowhere. He's another character that... Last Jedi, I ripped on how they did with Dern's character.
Laura Dern. Yeah.
Laura Dern's character. And we're like, wait, who is this?
Yeah.
What about Admiral Akbar? He's literally been the Admiral Akbar for 1,000 years. He's still here. You know what I'm saying? And so I will say this about his character. What? He knew apparently about the Palpatine stuff at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Because he just falls right in line with, sure, necromancer brought back from the dead Palpatine. I'm on board.
Yeah.
Of course we want to destroy millions and billions of people with these lasers.
Let's switch over to the much longer cast list than I was expecting of old characters.
Oh yeah.
So I did not. I don't know if I told you this before watching the film that I avoided trailers on this one. So I did see the original teaser trailer that launched like 6 months ago or whatever it was, with her flipping over the TIE fighter. I watched.
Did it have Emperor's Laugh?
It did at the very end of it. So I knew that they were at least gonna have him like appear as like a Force ghost or some kind of like background character. But I did not see the most recent trailer at all before going to see the film. I don't know if Lando is in that trailer or not, but I didn't know that Lando was going to be in it. I didn't know that Han was going to be in it. I figured Luke would be in, and then of course Leia. But we had like a pretty long good-sized laundry list of old characters.
Yeah.
Chewbacca was still very much a part of it. C-3PO, R2-D2 had smaller roles, but they were still in it.
But C-3PO's role was actually better in this one than it was the last one.
Yeah, well, he's much more involved.
Yeah, super involved. Funny, too, by the way.
Yeah, and I really liked... that his little mini story arc of like, we have to wipe your memory.
Yes.
It was a little convenient. The MacGuffin of I have the secret location of the Wayfinder, but I can't tell you was a little cheesy for me.
Oh yeah.
But by the time they wiped his memory, And then he's talking about like, oh, so and so, my oldest friend, like the person he just met the day before.
Which is very, very funny.
So funny.
Yeah, perfect.
I really liked that part of it, and
Yes.
I was glad that they could restore his memory by the end of the film.
Because it would have been horrible.
Just leaving him as like just a blank slate, I think would have been kind of dumb to end the whole series. But for the time period in which he basically was, tabula rasa, was really awesome.
Yeah.
Like I loved watching 3PO in that kind of role. Domhnall Gleeson as General Hux is always awesome.
How about him being the mole? Does that even sync up at all? Like
I was okay with it until he died, like in the next scene. But I was just like, what was the point of that?
Why didn't you just hop in with him?
Yeah,
go with these guys.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Hey, listen. Hux has seen so many people forced, like they're force choked and gunned down and sawed in half by Kylo Ren and Snoke and blah 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 blah. Did he really think he was gonna limp back and be like, "Oh, they shot me. I don't know how they got away. Did he really think that was gonna work?"
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, what did you think of Adam Driver? What did you think of Ben Solo, Kylo Ren's character arc?
I love it.
What did you think?
I don't know if you liked it or not, but for me, like the strongest point of all three of the movies have been the two of them. Any scene between Kylo Ren and Rey, I am all in.
Yes.
Like I love every single second of their interactions. Yes. All the different theories of who they are. Are they blood related? Are they in love? All that kind of stuff. Like I eat all of it up. And those two actors, like Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver, are, so I think, some of the most powerful acting that's been in the series as a whole. I absolutely buy every single statement that they utter on screen. So I loved watching him. I honestly didn't have any problem at all with his turnarounds, with his struggle between good and evil, with his complicated understanding of his relationship to Rey, like all that stuff. I loved it. Like for me, that is the main drama to hang your hat on across all three films. Even The Last Jedi, there's parts of The Last Jedi a lot of people have trouble with. I don't hear a lot of people having trouble with the relationship between Kylo and Rey in The Last Jedi.
Right.
I think they've always been the strong point of these movies.
I think that him following. Okay, I liked. Hear me out when I say this. I liked Kylo Ren finding the beacon thing, tracking it across the galaxy to this hidden, whatever, bizarro alternate world thing that is impossible to get to, Treasure Island.
Yeah.
And lost, basically, the island.
Yeah.
And and it's by J.J. Abrams, so it makes sense. And I like that he got there, and it was like, guess who I am? I'm Palpatine, blah, 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 blah. Why did they give away Palpatine? They gave away Palpatine in the preview that you heard the laugh. We all thought, well, Palpatine's back, or a Force Ghost is back, or something is back.
I wasn't convinced that he was back in flesh. I think you and I even talked about.
Do you think
talk about
that they should have not done that, and should have just surprised us all with here's Palpatine, he's back? I've been behind this the whole time. It's been me. Takes the mask off. It's been me the whole time, kids.
You mean as opposed to just revealing it like literally during the crawl?
But they think about it, how they did it. They reviewed it. They revealed something about Palpatine months in advance.
Okay, gotcha.
Then in the crawl, they're like, "Yep, you're right. He's back."
Yeah, the dead live. Yeah, yeah. It was a little weird.
Should they have just surprised us?
Launch with that?
Would it have taken even longer to get to the place where we needed to go?
I'm torn on that. I think in the 140 minutes that they had, I don't think that they had any choice other than just to launch with it at the very beginning of the movie, because it would have felt so forced, to introduce him as a character halfway through the movie and then end him like 30 minutes later.
Are you at all embarrassed? And hear me out when I say this. I'm gonna say this, and
I just wish they had 2 more movies. Like I wish this movie could have been 2 movies.
That would have been better.
Yeah.
Or just let JJ do the second one and let him do whatever he wants.
I would have had very little problems with these if they were split up.
But He literally, J.J. Abrams literally came in late. Have you heard this? I mean, he came in late.
Yes. Yeah, he was
try to fix it from what's his name? Trevor, or what's his name?
I can't remember. Abrams was not originally slated to direct this movie at all.
And they just didn't like Star Wars. People were like, this is bad. This is not what we want. And so they brought JJ in late. He has to redo all kinds of stuff, make it his own. Not only that, he also then looks at it and goes, well, when I did the first movie, I wanted to get to here. That second movie just drifted through space, literally, at a slow... literally. Here's the thing. They drifted... The Imperial transport is basically OJ's high-speed chase. Why are the police not overtaking OJ's Bronco? Why are they... Literally. It's like Spaceballs. It literally is like something from Spaceballs. So he looked at that and thought, how am I going to get from the beginning over here at Force Awakens that I did this and then to where we need to go? And he just... The way he crammed that stuff in, it was like blinding at times.
Yeah.
Fun though. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know why I enjoyed it?
If he hadn't crammed in so much into this movie, people would complain though. Why didn't you address this? Why didn't you wrap this up?
Yeah,
I felt
agree.
Like he had no choice.
And that's sad because it's a Star Wars, and you go, man, Disney's gonna get blamed for this. And I've already read some things where people are blaming. Look what Disney did. Look what Disney did. Stop. Like it's one, it's a movie. Who cares? Two, come on. Like it's not like they set out to be like, let's completely foobar this thing.
Right.
And anyway, but you know why? Can I tell you why I like this?
Sure.
All the things that were crammed in there. Ready for this? I walked in to Baskin Robbins. I wanted ice cream. And I just wanted ice cream. I just wanted a vanilla cone. But then I looked into the case, and there were like 100 million types of ice cream.
I thought there was only 31.
No, this is the new Baskin Robbins. The guy looked across from me. Baskin Robbins is his name. He looked across from me and goes, Jack, you can have all of the things in this case. And it's going to be right now. If you want them right now, eat them. Go ahead. And that's what J.J. Abrams did with this movie. He took everything Star Wars. There is Chewbacca. There is Palpatine. There is, a freaking 2 Ewoks at the end.
Yes.
Warwick Davis is back as an Ewok.
That was great.
As Willac or Warwick or whatever his name was, Ewok. At the end, smiling at the thing at the end.
Well, not to mention...
Chewbacca got his medal that he didn't get from the first movie.
Not to mention every Jedi's voice.
Everything. And all the things you want. You want some toppings? It just said, the sign just says, I just get sprinkles. All the toppings. Michael Scott, you can have all the toppings on your pretzel. It's pretzel day. You get all the toppings.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whereas the last movie, they said, listen, it's Star Wars, but we want you to eat this kale. You love kale, right? No, Ryan Johnson, I don't want kale. No, you like kale. Here, have some kale. Thanks, bud. And J.J. Abrams comes and goes, look, guys, hey, I know what happened. I know the guy I turned the shop over to for this movie. He didn't do a very good job. He ran everybody off and made them all sad. All the toppings. You get all of it. Thanks, JJ. So if nothing else, in this movie, we got all the toppings we wanted. Thanks, bud.
Let's talk about things we like from this movie.
No, okay.
I feel like we've been really hard on it.
But I told you, like...
You walked out of this movie very pleased, right?
I believe because of exactly what I just said.
Yeah.
I liked him turning me the keys and saying, here's Star Wars.
Yeah.
You wanted Star Wars? Everything that is Star Wars is now jam-packed into this box.
Yeah.
How long is this movie?
This movie was very Star Wars.
How long was this movie? 142 minutes?
Yeah.
You get 142 minutes of pure Star Wars.
Yeah. And it was that.
And it's sugary sweet. And it at the end, you're like bloated by all the Star Wars. You're like, oh gosh, thank God.
What word I've seen repeated on more reviews of this movie than anything else is the word nostalgia. And it is on every review that you read of this movie.
Fan service
nostalgia.
Which I go back to this, and I've said this a couple times.
My thought on that is I'm totally okay with it.
I'm okay with that too. And people literally, I've read reviews of people just scorching this thing and go, it's just fan service the whole time. Who can I say a bad word right now?
Okay.
Who the hell is supposed to be watching this movie then? I mean, who the hell is supposed to be watching this movie?
Yeah.
Every movie probably should be fan service, Phil.
Yeah.
If not for that, then every movie is going to be the $50,000 gross movie that goes, it's an award-winning classic. But all that Star Wars is built on is fans.
Yeah.
So if it's fan service, who the hell cares?
Well, and if you're not making this movie for fans, who are you making it for?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And critics sometimes they get so locked in to, well, it's not critical, blah blah blah. It's Star Wars.
Yeah.
I hate the Transformers movies, but man, I mean, there are people that there's those things still making 500 million, 600 million, billions of dollars overall in the franchise.
This movie's gonna make $1 billion.
Yes,
easily.
and so then you just go, what do you even know?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? If we're talking about Brokeback Mountain, okay, the expectation for Brokeback Mountain is not to make $1 billion. The expectation for Brokeback Mountain is to be critically acclaimed for the reasons it's critically acclaimed. I don't even like that movie, but I'm giving you an example.
Right.
Okay, the Maze Runner series,
Yeah.
which sucked. It's based on teen novels.
Yeah.
Their only goal was to try to make $1 billion.
Yeah.
And it didn't because it sucks.
Yeah, but it made money.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Critically acclaimed movies. What's the Winter's Bone? It's a good example with Jennifer Lawrence.
Uh-huh.
They didn't set out to make $1 trillion.
Yeah, they definitely
Now, had they made $1 trillion in the way, they'd have been like, "Wow, I couldn't believe that happened. We spent $40 million. We spent $45,000 on this movie."
Yeah.
Sorry, I got some good rants about this. Fan service is a hilarious word to me because I go, "What else is there?" I don't know. Who are you making this movie for? Siskel and Ebert?
Yeah, I was totally fine with it. I didn't have anything. I didn't roll my eyes at hardly anything in the movie.
Trust me, I understand, and we talk about Aaron a lot on the show. We talk about Andrew on the show, or we have in the past. You and I talk about them a lot.
Yeah.
But like I get them not liking it. Trust me, I understand.
Aaron liked it. He
liked this movie.
Yes.
I just don't even know what I'm doing then.
Yeah, he really liked it.
Okay, I thought he didn't like it.
No, it was Andrew that hated it.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. But
I get why people don't like it.
Yeah, you agree with Andrew on The Last Jedi, but you agree with Aaron on this one.
So weird.
Yeah.
So that's weird. I get why people don't like this because it does too many things, and it's like, I don't know, it's like a seizure at times.
Yeah.
It's overload.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it.
So here,
you know who else loved it?
Here are a few.
My son loves Star Wars now because of this movie.
Oh yeah. For him, this will be his.
This is it.
New Hope or Return of the Jedi.
It's weird.
Yeah. He will line up with this movie the same way that we do about Return of the Jedi.
He's talked about it for days.
Yeah.
And he's never done that with Star Wars movies.
But I think that's maybe the other criticism that some people have is that this movie kind of rehashes some Return of the Jedi stuff.
Yeah.
But much in the same way as The Force Awakens, I don't know that I care. I loved The Force Awakens and I loved A New Hope. I loved The Return of Jedi and I love this movie.
Yeah.
I don't see why one has to be exclusive of the other. You can love both things.
Yes, exactly.
Here are a few things that I liked about the movie. I really liked the watching Rey train. Like I loved the training sequences where she was like running through like the jungle type scenes and stuff like that.
She needed that.
Yeah,
every Jedi needs that at some point.
Yeah, I loved watching quote Master Leia was awesome. And I loved that.
That was one of those things that The Last Jedi did, because before The Last Jedi, we had no real inkling that she used the Force.
Yeah, right.
Some communication with Luke because they're twins.
Yeah, I think we saw that in Return of the Jedi a little bit, where like she senses something. Like I think Luke gets hurt or something like that, and she kind of like pauses for a second.
But they did a good job in this movie of showing that scene where Leia stopped her training because Luke was training her or whatever. They were both young.
Right.
How about CGI, man? You do that.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's crazy that they can do that.
Yeah, and they look young again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so then she's like, okay, I'm done. And that was a good way to get that other lightsaber to Rey. Where did didn't Luke destroy his lightsaber? How did it come back?
I don't remember that.
I think he destroyed his lightsaber.
In The Last Jedi?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I don't know.
I liked that Leia had her own lightsaber. I thought that was really cool. And then the payoff of that one is when Rey takes both lightsabers to the final duel.
And dual wields them,
which was really awesome.
How powerful was Palpatine, dude?
Dude, it's unbelievable. Like, okay, before I was talking about Palpatine at the end, but one of my favorite scenes, it's a small scene, really, honestly. There are many more scenes to talk about with Rey's powers, but honestly, one of my favorite scenes with Rey is, or very early on, first 30 minutes of the movie, they're on that planet. They're trying to find this wayfinder. The quicksand, and they get out. Anyway, Chewie gets abducted, and he gets onto that ship, and the ship starts going away, and Rey reaches out a hand and grabs the ship as it's going into orbit.
But was that a different ship?
Yeah, it was the wrong ship. Yeah,
did we see the other one get away?
No, I mean it got away before she had a chance to even see any of the ships.
Figure it out.
Yeah. So like all I know, like she turns around and Finn just goes,
"He's on that ship."
Rey,
yeah.
They took Chewie, and she looks up and she just sees the first transport ship that she can see in the sky, and grabs it with her hand and pulls on it. I was like, yes. Like, this is awesome.
She's really powerful.
And I love that. And then, of course, Kylo shows up, and then they're having, like, literally a fight over who can control the ship.
And they just rip it in half.
Yeah, it was so awesome. Well, she ends up using Force Lightning at that point, which she didn't even know that she could do.
Which is a Sith quality.
It's a dark side thing. And so, like, in that moment, you're kind of left wondering, like, oh, no, like, is she going to go bad? And that actually comes up quite a bit over the course of the movie.
Well, then you figure out the big reveal. That I guess, the Palpatine's back situation, the actual big reveal is that, man, Rey is a Palpatine.
Right, that she's his granddaughter.
It's so weird.
Well, and that says a lot about, I feel like one of the major messages, if not the message of the movie, was it doesn't matter where you come from, what your lineage is. Yes. What you were born to be, you make your own destiny. You can carve your own path in life. Yeah. And Kylo, throughout the entire film, is not really even trying to kill Rey. Yeah. He's trying to sway her over to the dark side. Yeah. And he says, we can rule together. Yeah. And she even is starting to have visions of, like, she's at one point, I think it's to Leia, she's talking to some other character about, she's like, yeah, I keep having these dreams. And I see the First Order, and guess who's presiding over it? And they're like, Kylo. And she's like, yeah, and me. Like, the two of us, I see the two of us ruling over the First Order together. Yeah. And so throughout the whole movie, you're just like, is this the movie where she goes bad? Like, she flips over to the dark side, right? Which we haven't seen a lot. We've seen dark side switch over to the light, like with Darth Vader, most famously at the end of Return of the Jedi. We've seen people kind of go that way, and of course Kylo goes over to the light side. That's more common. Yeah. But to see a light side person go over to the dark, Anakin would be the biggest. Young Anakin would be the best example of that.
That's pod racing.
But that's something we haven't seen as much. And again, like with Rey being my favorite character in all of Star Wars, my biggest fear throughout the movie was like, oh no, they better not make her dark side. Like, that would be like the one thing.
What would that have been like?
Dude, I think the backlash over that would have been just unbelievable.
He knew better than to do that. Yeah. He wouldn't have done that.
But yeah, I loved all of that stuff, all of those scenes of just the internal struggle for Rey. And then honestly, like, I didn't think we'd see as much internal struggle over Kylo. I wasn't even sure that we would see Kylo turn to the light side. Like, I really thought that it was probably just going to end with his death. Yeah. That Rey was just going to have to kill him. I read online, I think it was Emergency Awesome, where someone was saying that the scene with Han, like where Han appears to him, but he's not a Force ghost or anything. He's just like in his memory.
He's in his mind.
He's basically effectively talking to himself, but he's seeing like a mind's projection of his father Han, and that was originally supposed to be Leia. Yeah, like Leia.
But there's a point where like they didn't want to CGI that. I guess I don't know.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they would have loved to have actually shot those scenes with Carrie, but obviously Carrie died too soon. But I think she was probably supposed to be the one in the script to actually try to pull Ben and say, hey, you need to reconsider. But the best they had was Harrison Ford, and I thought he did a dynamite job.
I was glad to see him.
Yeah, it was a great scene. But we kind of learned that was the moment where he decides to realize what he's really doing and how futile it is, and that it's not really what he wants. And he delivers such a great line. I can't quote it, but he says something like, I know what I have to do, but I'm not strong enough to do it.
And that's from The Force Awakens too, yeah.
And I was just like, man, that is so good. Like my heart just resonates with lines like that in these movies. And honestly, that stuff never comes up short for me.
Right.
So I liked some of the new characters. Who's that little guy? Like the real tiny.
Is this little guy?
Dude, he was so funny.
He was funny.
I was laughing at everything he said.
He was silly.
He at first didn't sound like he spoke English at all, but then like
he would come back with
he would deliver like a few phrases in just straight up English, but it was like a funny sounding English.
Yeah.
That I loved his character and how he was kind of. I made the joke as we were watching the movie to the guy that my friend that I was sitting next to, that he's like the code breaker of this movie.
Yeah, he was
from the Last Jedi, but like an actual cool code breaker.
Yeah,
like he's like the only guy that can actually handle extract this Sith language out of C-3PO, but it's gonna wipe his brain and all that kind of stuff. I totally bought into all that. I loved it.
What was in this movie? And I've said this too. You have to suspend a lot of disbelief in some spots. The space jumping stuff.
Yeah.
The bad guy Kylo Ren would end up on the right planet. I mean, this is a big galaxy, and there's like he's hopping around, following them everywhere, kind of situation. What was the biggest thing that you felt like you had to suspend your disbelief to just move through in this one? Do you have one?
I mean, besides the light speed skipping,
there's that, but there's another one. I have one in mind that's just like a big one, and I'm okay with it because it's really cool. But it's like also like how.
I don't know. Let me think about that. Go ahead.
Mine is Palpatine's Armada.
Oh, that
because
he had.
I'm like,
dude, there's like a million ships,
and they all have Death Star lasers on
capabilities.
them.
Yeah,
and you're like, how?
Yeah, that's
how long have you been working on this?
Yeah.
For I guess. Decades.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, right? The only thing I can suspend my disbelief for on that is he has been working on this for decades. And so these ships, but they're under the water, whatever it is. That was the part that was like, they made this very dark, like, and I used the word necromancer earlier, like this brought back from the dead quality to him. Palpatine had that look about him. He just looked sick and old. And,
yeah.
I mean, he had fingers that were rotted off.
It looked so good.
And so, I mean, I'm assuming that's his body that fell down the chute, and then someone went and found him down there.
Yeah.
And they hooked him up, and they've been keeping him alive for this long.
Well, and he even seems to restore his body a little bit once he gets the two of them together and kind of like,
like
he's absorbs
back.
his.
I mean, he absorbs he's trying to get Rey to kill him.
Yeah.
So she can make the sacrifice to become a Sith, which if she would have struck out in anger and killed him, would she just automatically turn evil? Thoughts?
Yeah, I
didn't you feel that way?
I think, yeah, probably so.
That's how it works?
Yeah.
It's the ceremony of the Sith?
I mean, that is essentially what Palpatine is trying to do to Luke.
And all these weirdos are all living in this weird, bizarro planet, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of them. I couldn't tell if those were actual real things or not, because they had like shown like this cloning facility that he had where he had like 3 or 4 Snokes in a canister.
Why were they still in there? Why has there got more Snokes hanging out? I don't. That was one of those too, and I liked the idea. I had made the comment to my wife, and I may have made it on that Last Jedi episode we did on HMP, that Snoke might just be an Emperor clone.
Oh, really?
Like literal,
yeah, that's good.
And then the Emperor may be at the back end of this in the long run anyway. He just may be a puppet.
Yeah.
I don't know if I use the word puppet, but I definitely use the word clone, and I remember saying it. And maybe he looks like the Emperor. Because I remember that was the whole thing of people going, well, who does he look like? And literally one of the fan theories, whenever Snoke first showed up, and they saw him, they're like, wait, is that Mace Windu? Someone, because he had a big cut on his head. And Mace Windu would have probably had a big cut on his head. And they were like, literal. Like, that was one of the thought processes.
I did like the fact that Palpatine was the big bad in this movie makes me feel better about how disposable Snoke was in the previous movie. Like that was actually one of my biggest negatives with The Last Jedi, was that I felt like they were really setting up Snoke to be the big bad of this entire trilogy of movies.
Yeah.
Because he's in episode 7. He's in episode 8, and I thought he was going to be in episode 9 as well. I was like, we got to take down Snoke as he's the emperor of this story.
Yeah.
And then when they just straight up killed him
You're like,
episode 8, I was like, what the heck was that?
Well, then you're like, okay, well then I guess now Kylo Ren has to be the bad guy.
Right. And we learn even from the crawl of episode 9, it actually names him Supreme Leader Kylo. Or Supreme Leader Ren or whatever. But like he is the Supreme Leader in place of Snoke at the beginning of this movie. And at first I was just like, man, like they really just kind of disposed of Snoke like he was nothing in episode 8. But now knowing like the full story of like what Snoke was, well, he literally was just a puppet for Palpatine, just a front for Palpatine. It makes me feel better about The Last Jedi. Like it actually makes more sense. Yeah. Like this movie made 8 make more sense, and especially when it came to Snoke for me. But what did I just see?
How about her taking on Rey Skywalker?
Oh, at the very end?
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved it. It's perfect.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, basically, there's a couple theories floating out there that, like, basically when Ben gives his life, when Kylo gives his life to save Rey's life, that they like that their essence, their force essence or whatever kind of combines, and so she kind of almost becomes him. Like they kind of join together into one person. I don't know that I buy that. I think I'm more just kind of in line with the fact of like Leia became a mother to her. Like she was not blood related in any way, shape, or form to Leia, but that Luke and Leia, even though brother and sister, they were like her
best
parents.
Parent units, basically, for her.
And so, like, and it's when she's on Tatooine and that person says, "Hey, what's your family name?"
Yeah.
And, like, before she even said it.
The lady walking out in the desert.
Yeah.
What? I have not seen anyone out here for years.
Yeah. What's your name?
Why are you out here?
Before, like, when she said, "What's your family name?" Before she even said it, I leaned over to the guy next to me and was like, Rey Skywalker. Like, she's gonna do it. So, it was absolutely perfect payoff. I wanted to talk about Palpatine's power because we kind of touched on it just for a second. Dude, at one point, like, it looks like all is lost. Like Poe is like, "Hey, I'm really sorry, guys. Like, I really thought we could do something, but we were completely outgunned, outmatched here by
one human with Force lightning."
Yeah, like,
and this huge ship, this huge armada.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is like we see the huge armada come in, and all of this, just like more ships than you've ever seen in a single shot. I was just like, that was awesome.
Yeah,
and then they really start to actually kind of turns the tide of the battle, and they start winning, and then Emperor Palpatine just with one just reaches out both of his hands and just electrifies the entire the entire sky around him. And I was just like, that is awesome.
Yeah,
like,
it is awesome.
That was so cool to watch, like his incredible display of power.
Well, he took this Jedi dyad or whatever they call it, when it's two powerful Jedis that are basically one force entity or whatever.
Yeah, I totally bought that too.
He absorbed their power, and now it's Palpatine power plus these other two super powerful Jedis. Yeah. And he's able to make it happen.
Yeah, I bought
Rey is more powerful.
I bought all of that.
Rey is more powerful than Kylo Ren.
Yeah, for sure.
Like in a fight. Like, honestly, could you imagine how powerful a trained Rey would become?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. There's that, I think one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen in any Star Wars movie was the one with the water like crashing over them as they were like on the edge of that Death Star, like the remains of that Death Star.
Yeah.
How they were like flipping over the water and like jumping from wreckage to wreckage and just fighting each other. And there's actually a moment where Rey starts to get really tired and she's starting to get overpowered by Kylo Ren. And I was a little surprised by that, but I really felt like she was going to be the victor every time that they got together. Yeah. But that was a really cool fight scene. I feel like we really haven't talked very much about Poe and Finn.
Well, because now Poe's character had a little bit of a resurgence in this.
Yeah, he sure did.
As a pilot, he did a lot of great things as a pilot.
Yeah.
He and Finn have a little bit of a back and forth when they land on the moon of Endor. Mm-hmm. Just talking about basically, we need to go save Rey. I'm going to get this ship ready. And it's like, what? Like, why are we arguing? Like, it was weird.
Finn
got sidetracked by his relationship with
Yeah.
the Jana lady.
Although I really liked the I don't know, maybe some people think it's cheesy. I did not think it was cheesy. But the horses riding on the side of that Star Destroyer.
That's cool.
I thought that was cool.
I thought it was neat.
And how like they shoot down the bridge or whatever, essentially with that gun, with its own gun.
Yes.
I thought that was awesome.
Really cool.
It left me wondering, does Finn actually is he force sensitive? Like there were some moments where he's like, I just have a feeling. Like it was kind of like Leia from episode 6, like where he's just like, does she have force powers? Like she has some abilities and seems to have some of the similar abilities.
And that may be why he was able, the programming for the Stormtrooper programming stuff didn't work on him. And maybe it's the same thing with the Jana girl.
Yeah, interesting.
But like Finn again, like I feel bad for Finn from the first movie. He was building towards something. The second movie didn't do him any service, and then he's not lost, but he's just like mid card, middle of the road character in the next one.
Yeah, he's definitely been backgrounded since the first episode.
And I go back to how like his whole run with Phasma in that second movie. In the first and second movie, how they didn't use her at all.
Yeah,
like, it was
so
this weird like, okay, why did you do that? And
that was a big misuse in The Last Jedi that I was upset with.
Strong, like woman. Like let's use she's a really strong, that actress is awesome. And let's use her instead they just like torched her. So weird.
We learned quite a bit about her parentage. Ochi is like this, I guess, assassin or whatever.
A Sith assassin.
Yeah, and basically is trying to, like, Palpatine's like really afraid of Rey, like when she's born and stuff like that, and wants to either control her and bring her over to the dark side, or wants to eliminate her. Yeah. And so, like, we learn everything that we need to know about her parents, like that they were essentially nobodies. Like in Last Jedi, we learned that they were nobodies. That's Kylo's big line.
Except for the fact that Palpatine's son, or is it daughter? Which one is it?
In this movie, she says, "You lied to me because you told me that they were nobodies," and they weren't exactly nobodies because Palpatine is my grandfather.
Yeah.
But essentially, they were relegated to nobodies because they basically took Rey on the run and like tried to hide her. Basically, not unlike Luke and Leia.
Right.
And basically, they were killed because of her relationship to Palpatine. So I loved learning all that kind of information about the two of them, her parents.
I really thought I didn't think I would ever know much about Palpatine after, because you don't learn anything new about his background in the episode 4, 5, and 6. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? He's just this dark character with, the dark wizard that's in charge of whatever, the Sith. But in the prequels, you learned about him. He was the senator. You learned about his rise to power, him taking over power.
Yeah.
And I didn't think you'd ever learn anything new about him, but here he had a kid. He had a little family. He was a total creepazoid.
Yeah. Another kind of fan servicey thing that I, again, totally loved was Rey goes back to that same island that she was on with Luke, which it was so funny to see the Porg again and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, we get to see an interaction between Rey and Luke, which I thought was a really great scene. And Luke was apologizing almost to her, like he's like, I was wrong. I told you I didn't want to have anything to do with anything that you guys were doing, but I was totally wrong.
It's like it just pees on the Last Jedi movie. Do you think?
No, I don't really see it that way. I liked his motivation in The Last Jedi. I totally
was he was trying to get away from.
Yeah, he was just like, I'm done with that. Like I've been burned. Like I tried. Like I did my best to raise up a new generation of Jedi, and that completely blew up in my face. And I'm done. Like I'm just done with this whole business.
Right.
And like I totally bought all of that from Last Jedi, but then at the end of Last Jedi, he changes his mind even before the end.
Yeah, that's true.
Of Last Jedi.
He does. Yeah.
So at the end of the Last Jedi, he basically says, "Okay, I can see that I'm needed," and so he ends up, basically holding them off enough for them to get away. And then in this one, he's like, "Hey, I was wrong. Like, you need to intervene. I'll do everything I can to help you." And then the best way that he can think to help her, besides the lightsaber thing, is he gives her his Red 5 X-wing,
which is really
that comes
cool.
out of the water.
Which is
and
awesome.
I was squealing. Like, I was just like, dude, that is awesome. That's awesome. I like when seeing that thing come out, and then just like the blades of the X's, kind of span out. I was like, oh, that's so great. And then she jumps in his X-wing and flies off.
That thing is pretty water resistant, apparently. If it can do that.
It's been down there for a while, looked all rusted and stuff, and it was really cool. So, yeah, I mean, this movie was fan servicey and nostalgia to the T, and I loved every second of it. I really didn't have a problem with any of that stuff.
Well, the biggest bummer for me was that it had to cover so much ground in such a small amount of time.
Yeah,
and that makes for a rushed movie, and it's filled with all kinds of good stuff, all good stuff.
Yeah,
but very much like just a forced kind of situation. So,
this movie has to have been the biggest cast they've ever had for any film.
Oh.
Like, because I mean, once you add in Lando, some of them we had seen in the previous couple movies, like Luke and Leia and Han and stuff like that. But once you add in Lando, and then you still have R2D2, 3PO, BB-8, Finn, Poe, it's unbelievable how many people were in this movie. Of course, everyone wants to be in this movie because it's the last chance for the Skywalker saga. But it was a huge cast.
Yeah.
So, but
I thought it was pretty well done. And like I said, it's such a tall task to do.
Here's my kind of final thought on the movie. Yes, it is a crazy ride. Yes, it hardly ever gives you a moment to process anything that you've just witnessed. Yes, there's some new characters that probably didn't need to be introduced that added some complications, that kind of thing. But I really feel like Abrams did about the best that he possibly could with what he was given, which wasn't much. Like I feel like he was thrust in a literally impossible situation
with no time to do it.
Yeah, and I think he did about as good as anyone could possibly do in that kind of situation.
That's crazy.
So. This is a movie I will see again in theaters. I'll buy another ticket and go see it and watch it again.
I thought it was great
before it leaves theaters. So, while it's not in my top, I might even put it in my top 5. It's definitely not my top 3 of the Star Wars series as a whole. But it might be like number 4 or 5 for me. I really enjoyed it. So,
like I said, truly enjoyed it. Thought it was a really nice way to end it. It was a hard. I would have liked to have. I don't know. Again, to go back to that, give me who's going to be the Kevin Feige for the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Situation. Who can give you cohesion the whole time? Like who can be the guy, the guy or the girl that's in charge of the whole thing, and that's where the buck stops. And who can throw in creative processes and keep things kind of squared away.
Colin Trevorrow was the original director.
His other movies that he directed were Land Before Time.
Oh,
I'm just joking. I don't know what else he did. Is that him?
Yeah.
Click on his bio there. Let's see what else he's done.
He kind of looks like J.J. Abrams.
He is J.J. He's actually a clone of J.J. Abrams. I just saw Jurassic World.
Lego Jurassic World. Oh, just Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Oh, man. Another Jurassic Park movie coming up. I don't know.
He actually wrote the story.
Yeah.
For Rise of Skywalker.
Replaced by J.J. Abrams.
Interesting. Last thing I'll mention as far as like powers, like force powers and stuff like that, there's actually a tie-in to The Mandalorian, which we mainly have been talking about on this episode, or on this podcast. She force heals in the same way that Baby Yoda does in episode 7 of The Mandalorian. Not once, but twice in the movie. And I thought that was really interesting.
Super powerful.
Yeah. It was cool to
super powerful
to see actually 2 characters in the same week have use that power, which has not really been used very much in the series as a whole. So
it's pretty cool.
Yep.
Good stuff, man.
So obviously, if you've been listening to us talk about this for over an hour now.
amazing.
You've already watched the movie. Give us your thoughts on it. disneyplusreviews at hotmail.com if you want to kind of give us your thoughts. We'd love to mention it. Obviously, it's got to be spoiler free if we're going to have it on just a normal episode of The Mandalorian talk. But let us know what you thought about the movie. I'd love to get some other reviews here on the show. And join us, continue to watch The Mandalorian, and join us next week as we talk about the finale. So
send us your ideas about what to cover after Mandalorian goes on its hiatus.
Yeah,
till a new season comes out. It may take a year.
Yeah, they're only shooting it now, so it's going to take a while for them to post-produce that.
Exactly, it's hard to get that many blurred rounded up.
Yeah, they tend to be hard to catch.
Well, they're hard to catch, and they'll eat you.
Yeah, they will straight up eat you.
They will. Blurred. And they trust you. Once they get to trust you, they like you. But until then,
the Force will be with you.
Force will be with you.
Always.
All right. Good job, Phil. Good job, everybody else. See you soon.